Magandang hapon po mga kababayan. Kayo'y nakikinig dito lamang sa Radyo Migrante. Ako po si Waynes, kasama niyo sa kwentuhan at sa pagsaserbisyo sa bayan.
Ako naman po si Julie, mapagpalayang pagbati po sa inyong lahat, lalong-lalo na sa mga kababayan nating migrante sa bawat sulok ng mundo.
Samahan niyo kami sa ating episode 56 ngayong April 14, 2024 at ating alamin ang mga pangyayari at ang kahalagahan ng lupa sa ating buhay, kultura at sa kasarinlan.
So today we will talk about this week's top news dito sa Canada at sa Pilipinas. Mapakikinggan din natin ang isang tula mula kay Kulilis at kay Jason Montana.
At syempre, hindi matatapos ang ating episode kung wala ang Pinoy Tayo segment kung saan mapakikinggan natin ang interview with Mauriene Tolentino, isang miyembro ng Filipinos United for Palestine. Ayan, napakarami pala nating pag-uusapin. Tara at simulan na natin for this week. Para sa unang balita, from Pinoy Weekly, paghahanda sa gyera, pahamak sa mamamayan. Ngayong buwan, nakatakdang ilunsad ang ika-39 na Balikatan Joint Military Exercises ng mga sundalong Amerikano at Pilipino, lunsaran ng mga bagong teknolohiya at posturang pandigma ng taunang war games ng dalawang bansa. At ngayon, dahil sa tumitinding tensyon sa West Philippine Sea, papalapit sa China ang balikatan. Ang pakitang gilas at lakas na pakana ng Amerika ay lalong naghihimok ng gyera habang dinadamay ang mamamayang Pilipino. Noong Enero, ipinangako ng Armed Forces of the Philippines na mas marami ang kalahok na sundalo ngayong taon kumpara noong 2023 na alam natin ay nagtipon ng 17,600 na troops. Kamakailan, nag-anunsyo si Colonel Michael Lohico ng kanilang running total so far na 16,000 na kalahok na sundalo, 11,000 mula sa United States at 5,000 sa Pilipino. Pero wala pa rito ang delegasyon mula sa 14 na bansa na tinakdang mga magiging observer. Kabilang na dito ang Japan, Australia at France. Isa ang balikatan sa 500 na tinakdang military exercises ng US para lang sa taong ito. Ayon kay Professor Roland Simbulan, eksperto ng relasyong US-Philippines, quote, klarong paghahanda ito ng puwersang Amerikano at mga alyado niya para makipagdigma sa China para sa Taiwan at lalong iinit ang kumukulong sitwasyong geopolitikal. End quote. Sinabi niya rin po na nakikita niya na ang ginagamit ng US ang Pilipinas as a proxy o launching pad sa rehiyon para makaiwas sa direktang pinsala. Kabilang ang Pilipinas at Taiwan sa mga tumatanggap ng pinakamalalaking suportang militar mula sa Amerika. Noong 2021, nagbigay ng mahigit $22 million sa Pilipinas at $29.2 million naman sa Taiwan.
Ang sabi ni Liza Masa, Secretary General ng International League of People's Struggles o ILPS, quote, kapalit ng ayudang militar at suportang pampolitika, kinakaladkad ang Pilipinas sa giyera ng Amerika. Unquote. Sinasabi din na posibleng malagay sa alanganin ang 150,000 na overseas Filipino workers o OFW doon.
At para naman sa pangalawang balita, from Mindan News, Human Rights Watch fears surge of killings with Davao Mayor Duterte's war on drugs attack. Nagpahayag ng pagkaalarma ang Human Rights Watch noong Lunes sa war on drugs na idineklara ni Davao City Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte noong Marso 22. Bagaman patuloy ang extrajudicial killing sa ilalim ng Pangulong Marcos Jr., nangangamba pa rin ang Human Rights Watch na magreresulta ito sa mas malala pa na kalagayan ng human rights sa bansa. Ayon naman sa The Hush Project, maabot na sa 97 cases ang drug-related killings sa Davao City as of March 15. Lahat sa kanila maliban sa isang kaso ay mga pinatay ng mga ahente ng Estado. Noong si Duterte ang mayor sa Davao, umaabot sa libo-libo ang mga pinatay ng umanong notorious Davao Death Squad. Noong naman naging presidente na si Duterte, ah, ayon sa Commission on Human Rights, itong nationwide operation ng tinatawag nilang War on Drugs ay nagresulta sa 27,000 to 30,000 na mga biktima ng extrajudicial killings.
Sa ngayon, itong war on drugs ni Duterte ay iniimbestigahan ng International Criminal Court. Iniimbestigahan din yung mga pagpatay sa Davao City between 2011 to 2016. Hanggang ngayon ay dinedenay ni Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla na mayroong culture of impunity sa ating bansa. Kahit na hanggang ngayon ay wala pa ring hustisya sa mga biktima at nakikita natin na patuloy yung mga extrajudicial killings sa bansa.
Para naman sa pangatlo at huling balita from Philippine-Canadian News, Canada to cut on number of foreign workers starting May. Naghayag ang gobyerno ng Canada ng mga hakbang upang bawasan ang bilang ng temporary foreign workers. Ang kanilang dahilan? Dahil daw nakarecover na ang Canada mula sa post-pandemic labor shortages at kasalukuyang mas mababang unemployment rate. Ang sabi ni Randy Boissonot, Minister of Employment, Workforce Development at Official Languages, magpapatuloy pa rin ang Temporary Foreign Workers Program, ngunit gagamitin na lamang ito sa mga kaso kung saan walang mga manggagawa dito sa Canada na maaaring gumampan sa kanilang kailangang trabaho. Dahil patuloy din ang pagbaba ng mga bakanting trabaho, nais ng gobyerno ng Canada na unahin ng mga employer at kumpanya ang mga mamamayan at permanent residents. Sa isang media briefing noong March 21, tiniyak ni Mark Miller, Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, na ang mga employer sa Canada ay may sapat na option sa labor pool kasama ang mga international students at kanilang mga asawa, mga temporary foreign workers at kanilang mga asawa, at mga naghahanap ng asylum na nandito na sa Canada. Patuloy po kayong nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante dito sa Toronto's Best Filipino Community Program, Vibe 105. Natunghangan po ninyo ang mga balita at ngayon naman ay lumubog tayo sa ating kulturang Pilipino.
Ngayon naman para sa kulturang Pilipino, ako po si Julie. Nais niyo bang makadiskubre ng mga makabuluhang kanta at tula mula sa iba't ibang musikero at makata? Ang segment na ito ay magsisilbing espasyo para sa iba't ibang pagtatanghal ng mga talento ng ating kababayang Pilipino. Ngayong linggo, may dalawa kaming handog na tula para sa inyo. Ang unang tula ay isinulat ng isang makata na kilala sa alias na Kulilis. Ilan sa kanyang mga akdang nabuo sa gitna ng mapayapang gabi, nakabingbing na katahimikan o ligalig ng kadiliman. Simbigat ng pantaron. Lilipad ang alimukon bilang signos na maya-maya'y luluha ang langit. Yaong mga luhay tatangayin ng hangin, magpapayuko sa matayog na lawaang maglalagas ng dahon bilang hudyat ng kanyang pagluluksa. Ang kanilang kababatat magiting na tagapagtanggol ay pumanaw na. Taimtim na dadapo sa sanga ang kalyawa na mamayang hapoy hahagulgol sa burol ng mandirigmang ipinanganak sa lupang salalayan ng himpapawid na kanya ngayong malayang nililiparan. Salamat, ika niya sa kanyang hinahangaang mandirigma. Maging ang salug ay panandali ang magdadahan-dahan at mananahimik bilang taimtim na parangal sa kanyang nakababatang kapatid na sa kaagahan ng buhay ay nagtatampisaw at kalaunay nakiligma. Sa kanyang pakikitagpo sa ilog Davao ay ihahatid ng salug ang balita at gayon di magluluksa ang dambuhalang ilog. Salamat, ika nila sa nakababatang kapatid na mandirigma. Magbubuntong hininga ang pantaron na yayanig sa lupang kinatitirikan ng tahanan nilang mga nakalimot at nilang patuloy na nakakaalala. Salamat, ika niya sa mga mandirigma. At hanggang ngayon ginhawa pa rin ang katumbas ng paghinga. Sa lupa kung saan tutulo ang aming luhay, sisibol ang bagong pag-asang papangibabaw sa aming mga pagkabigo. Yaong mga punlay,
Sila ring magiging matatayog na mga punong magpapasariwa sa hanging pinarumi ng kamalian, kakulangan at kasakiman. Sila ring magiging lilim ng pagal na manlalakbay. Sa kanila'y darapo ang kaliyawang maghuhudyat ng pagputok ng liwanag sa himpapawid na nakasalalay sa lupang nagsusumikap pa ring maging malaya. Patuloy nararagasa ang ilog mula sa bundok, bitbit ang kasaysayan at katotohanan. Ang lupa ay ipinagtatanggol, hindi ibinibigay ng pusa. Mapagmalaking titindig ang pantaron, tahanan ng matatayog na punong makailang ulit man malagasan ng dahoy tulad ng puno ng pangi, tiyak ang muling pagsibol. Muling iihip ang hangin. Sa gitna ng katahimikay ibubulong niya sa amin lula ng iyong tinig. Paminog ko, panumbingan ko matuy siyak ko solo, apoy nod giyak haniyo, honokod undang, og paragas ko tu pakigbisog.
Handog namin ang tulang Don't Just Curse Anymore na sinulat ni Jason Montana mula sa kanyang librong Clearing. Si Jason Montana ay isang miyembro ng National Democratic Front in Northern Luzon since martial law was declared on September 21, 1972. He was once a professor of humanities and a freelance journalist. Please enjoy.
Don't just curse anymore. In Cagayan Valley and elsewhere.
Summary executions of suspected dissidents, kidnappings in crowded plazas and markets. These are all so common these days. The military wears no gloves in operations and even returns to scenes of crimes again and yet again. But we don't just curse anymore. Severed heads, splattered brains, widows and orphans, they cry to heaven for vengeance, unmetaphored like fact sheets piling up on desks of bishops in offices of human rights organizations. We don't just curse anymore. There is much work to be done and there is much life to be lived. Like there are new power structures to build, lands to recover and till, new humanness of community and ritual to invent. Like more than 100 cadres of the people aren't enough, and a mass base of millions in towns and barrios isn't enough, and protest marches to the palace gates. We must bring up the rare and the middle forces and more. We unfold fairy tales to children still, listen to the songs of Neruda and Sandoval, make love before sunrise, yes, and roll the final boulder up the mountain, together to a right time, a right place, but near heaven, before the letting go, and much, much more. Ang susunod naming handog para sa inyo ay isang awit na pinamagatang Bigas Hindi Bala Song. Ang lyrics ay sinulat ni Sara Raimundo, music was arranged by Edge Uyanguren, performed by TUBAW Music Collective and Sara Raimundo. Nirelease po ito noong 2016. Ayon sa TUBAW Music Collective, ang awit na ito ay alay sa mga magsasaka at mga tagapagtanggol ng karapatang pantao na ginutom, tinorture at pinatay ng rehimeng US Aquino noong April 1, 2016 sa Kidapawan, South Cotabato. At para sa marami pang mga magsasaka na patuloy na dinarahas hanggang sa kasalukuyan. Sino ba ang TUBAW Music Collective? TUBAW stands for Tubong Mindanao, Tulong Mindanao. Isa siyang ensemble of young, vibrant, and nationalist Filipino songwriters, performers, and visual artists that prides itself in producing and performing original songs about the people's struggles, aspirations, and victories. It was formed in March 2016, a few months after the historic Caravan of National Minorities o Lakbayan ng Pambansang Minorya. Ito ang Bigas Hindi Bala Song. Please enjoy.
bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. Bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. Inalas mo ang gapos ng gutom, sinasalubong ng daluyong ng kasaysayang, ikaw rin ang may likha. Bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. Bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. Tinansag ko ang hanay ng kaaway, sinasalubong ang daluyong ng kasaysayang, ikaw rin ang may likha. Bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. Bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. Kinabig mo mga kawal ng laya, ngayon kasama sa nagngangali ng bigmang laban sa gutom, sumasalubong sa daluyong ng kasaysayang, tayo ang lumilikha. Bigas hindi bala, lupa sa magsasaka. 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 Ugas dili bala, yuta sa mag-uuma.
Ngayon naman ay isang awit na isinulat ni Danny Fabella, performed by Musikang Bayan. This is Sierra Madre. Please enjoy.
Mula sa Sierra Madre humugos ang magsasaka, nagpupuyos sa galit ang mga puso nila. Nananalasang mga berdugong militar sa kanayunan. Sinunog ng mga salot ang kanilang pananim, tahanay nirakrak ng mga buhong at salarin. Inaagaw ang lupang kanilang sinasakat, maraming pinaslang at dangal na sinaling. Ang lupa ang dahilan. Habang ilan ang nagmamayari, may himagsikan. Ang lupa ang dahilan. Kung bakit may digmang naglalagablab sa kanayunan. Kaya magsasaka ay nagbalikwas, tinahak ang landas ng proletaryong bukas, at ang kanilang mga sigaw yumayanig.
Patuloy po kayong nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante dito sa Toronto's Best Filipino Community Program, Vibe 105. Huwag kayong aalis mga kababayan. Makakasama natin si Mauriene Tolentino, isa sa mga miyembro ng Filipinos United for Palestine. Mapakikinggan po natin yan after the break. Ayan, ako po ang inyong host, si Waynes, para sa ating Pinoy Tayo segment o Pinoy Talakayan at Usapan. dito natin mapakikinggan ang talambuhay ng ating mga kababayan na migrant workers, international students at iba pa. Halina't pakinggan natin ang fresh na perspectives ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino. Kasama natin ngayon si Mauriene Tolentino, member ng Filipinos United for Palestine. Welcome back sa Radyo Migrante, Mauriene. We're so happy to have you here with us today. Kung pwede lang pakibati ang ating listeners at pakilala niyo na rin ang iyong sarili.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mauriene. Member of Filipinos United for Palestine. Very happy to be here.
Ayun, Mauriene pala ang pagkabasa. Good thing.
Mauriene.
Check that niya, Mauriene. So, unang gusto naming makapagkwentuhan sa'yo is para malaman namin kung ano ba yung reason why you personally joined or organized with the Filipinos United for Palestine.
We decided to build this network to join forces across different Filipino organizations, Filipino people who are working to build solidarity and to fight for a free Palestine. And we wanted to join forces on addressing the root cause of this genocide, which is the Zionist agenda through colonialism and imperialism. So through past Radio Mig episodes, you've been able to cover different kinds of activisms in the Filipino community or in different kinds of communities to fight for a free Palestine. And this united sort of network is meant to just bring us all together, and we center the values of kapwa and bayanihan, which is the values that are organically sort of calling us to be in solidarity with each other, with our kababayans, but also with other oppressed groups like Palestinian people and indigenous peoples here on Turtle Island. So we are in solidarity with Palestinians because our struggles and therefore our liberation is from colonialization, imperialism, and displacements, and all of that are very much linked and very much the same struggle, the same fight. And so the Palestinian people have called us to collectively resist injustice, diba? So I feel like this invitation is such a powerful and spiritual call for all of us to reconnect with being human, reconnect and remember what it means to be human. So organizing with Filipinos United for Palestine is, for me, it's a very spiritual work, kasi in this world where imperialism has torn us away from our motherland, the Philippines, solidarity work with those who fight for their lands and to fight for their return to their land is to also honor my return to myself, to my community, to my roots, and to my land, our land. As a Filipino people who have settled outside of the Philippines, there is a reason we yearn to be reconnected with our roots, diba? It's our calling to heal from the harms of colonialism and imperialism. And so this work really is just one way for me to honor that work of reconnecting and remembering where we came from.
Mm-hmm. Kapwa is such a loaded term. I think that every person has a different definition of it, but I just remember I had a conversation with Radyo Kapwa from Montreal, and one of their questions in their episodes is, what is Kapwa for you? And it really made me think about that. It's there's this connection even with non-kababayans who are struggling and resisting in this society. That is your kapwa, and you fight with your kapwa there. So that was really well said, like so inspiring. And I know that in last month, you folks had this huge community forum and discussion to bring together all those Filipinos, those concerned Filipinos for Palestine. And that this forum was, the title or the pamagat is Isang Bagsak. And we wanted to explore on what is the story behind this term and why was it chosen to be like the highlight of that forum.
Yes, a lot of research went into this because, as you know, there's a lot of different versions or retelling of the history of Isang Bagsak. Pero Isang Bagsak in Tagalog translates to one down, meaning that if one person falls or one community falls, we all fall, diba? So in fact, Isang Bagsak as the phrase was actually our invitation, our foundational invitation to the community to join forces with us in through this Filipinos United for Palestine. Kasi Isang Bagsak, we feel it embodies our point of unity, which is the Filipino way of being together, our interconnectedness, our meaning of why we fight for each other and for each other's rights and stuff. And so just a little bit about the history of Isang Bagsak. I think, like I said, many different versions. I have heard different things, pero Jovi, one of the members, actually explained this very well during our event, that the phrase came from the People Power movement in the Philippines, while the unity clap, like the practice of Isang Bagsak, where we do like sort of a collective clap, originated from the United Farm Workers movement in the US, where Filipino organizers led by Larry Itliong and Latino and other racialized organizers from farms and agricultural work resisted labor exploitation in the 60s in the US. And so the powerful show of solidarities across racial identities, across racial communities, was such a powerful way for us to also learn from as a community, that this Isang Bagsak as a practice, a solidarity as a practice has been going on for many, many years. It's not new. For us to stand beside and to fight for a liberated Palestine is just our way of being Filipino, diba? Like, it's our way of embodying embodying kapwa, right? And so, Isang Bagsak was a way for us to invite people into this work.
Mm-hmm. And I know that it really almost like I wouldn't say visual, but will be auditory representation of that united. When we say the people are united and will never be defeated, and you just hear this strong, bold sound of a people united. And I saw some photos. There were a lot of people that came. So congratulations for that successful community forum. We wanted to ask if also you have any, main learnings and actions that came out from that forum. What are the next events? What are the next actions? Are there any wins and challenges that you wanted to highlight?
Of course, yeah. I think the biggest win is being together in community. I think the past few months, we've been coming together in community in solidarity for a free Palestine in many different ways. But I've also heard that many people have felt isolated in their own activism, or whether it be, at work or with families, spaces and other kinds of spaces. Pero this was a way for us to really just find community with one another and to kind of be in a sort of relief that, I'm not in this alone. And so it was also really powerful that we got to establish a sort of solidarity with Palestinian liberation movements, as Palestinian Youth Movement was there, Labor for Palestine was there, and our kababayans, our people, had the chance to really learn from what they had to say about the importance of solidarity and building solidarities. We did so much for this event, and I think we could have maybe had different kinds of events spread out over different events. Pero we also learned, through through an educational discussion by Anak Bayan Canada and Anak Bayan Toronto, on how our struggles are linked by delineating not just why we struggle under colonialism, but also how the Philippines is complicit in this genocide through its military trade with Israel. So a lot of teachings and a lot of relationship building was happening that day, and was just a really great opportunity for us to kind of reground ourselves in this work that's often so fast. One really awesome thing that happened after that was we broke out into breakout groups where we focus on specific sort of solidarity action. In one breakout group, one group focused on direct actions that are related to holding our representatives accountable. And so one of the ideas that came out of that breakout group was actually to mobilize a community to push the only Filipino member of parliament right now at the House of Commons to vote in favor of a motion that was presented at the House of Commons to cease arms trade with Israel, right? And so we as a community really pushed for that to happen. And from that event, the group took it upon themselves to create a public letter to urge MP Richie Valdez to vote in favor of this motion. Overall, I think it was a really powerful example of how when we're coming together as a Filipino community, we can really push our representatives to represent us, and our voice and our concerns.
Are there any next events that our folks should keep an eye out on, or? And in terms of any challenges that you wanted to highlight, what has been the most challenging about setting up this coalition or organizing the Filipinos?
I think the biggest challenge really there's no necessarily like challenge for people to be in favor of a free Palestine. No, I think people understand that there is a genocide going on and that we have to do what we can to stop it. I think it's because of this issue is so contested, and because of the powers of imperialism, powers of Zionism is so strong, that there's a lot of fear around speaking up for a free Palestine, especially within Filipino communities where resisting powers is such a taboo thing to do. We cannot be political, we cannot be angry, we have to kind of abide by the rules, etc. And so that, I think that is the main sort of barrier that I think I see in our community to kind of fully show up and fully bring yourself to the cause. But again, actually, that's one of the things we want to kind of organize around is building sort of tools, resources, or I don't know, like spaces for us to come together and discuss these issues, potentially building ways for us to speak up within our own specific circles, because that's where change really happens, and that's where change starts, diba? Like within your own personal circles. And so thanks for asking that. I think that that's one of the things we wanna build.
And even in like our small unit, in our families, like speaking about these issues with your parents or someone older than you, the pushback is really hard.
Oh my gosh.
And so even in the general sense too, like any criticisms of people in power is, as you said, is taboo. It's that kind of thinking that we need to support each other in how to break away from that and how to keep on moving forward. And really bringing this conversation back into the highlight of our episode this week. In preparation for Earth Day, we want to prepare the community for this special day. And so we're discussing different things about the earth, about land sovereignty. And we wanted to ask, what is the connection of Earth Day to the right to sovereignty of Filipinos, Palestinians, and First Nations in Canada?
Thank you so much for this question. It's a very thoughtful one, especially as you're thinking ahead. I feel Earth Day in where we are in the Western world, this is a concept I feel that's very warped, like a warped understanding of caring for the environment and I think their focus has really been on addressing overconsumption by humans, or even if we think about it historically, their main purpose has been to address the impacts of industrialization, go back to the way it was, quote unquote. Pero a lot of this sort of environmental consciousness is the idea that we need to save the earth from humans, or like earth is so separate from humans. Pero I just, while we talk about Earth Day, there are ways that people have honored the earth, the land, in many different ways, and there's different days too that commemorate that. For example, Land Day, which happened a few weeks or 2 weeks ago. It was a day to commemorate Palestinian land defenders who originally protested Israeli land takeover in 1976, I believe. But now is sort of like a day to commemorate all Palestinian land defenders. And so, when I think about Earth Day, I like to remember that there are other days like Land Day where you are also, it's really meant to resist this colonial agenda or settler colonial agenda of destroying land and to steal land from indigenous peoples. If we unpack the reason why we need to care about the environment, we remember, the ways indigenous peoples all over the world have cared for their lands, the ways indigenous peoples in the Philippines, in Palestine, on Turtle Island have really cared for the land and the ways in which they do that. I think many of us have heard this sort of idea that's explained in the context of Palestine, where those who are native to Palestine water the olive trees, they tend to the olive trees. There's actually this annual harvest that happens where they tend to the land, while those who colonize the land burn the olive trees, they destroy the land. And it's true in the case of Palestine, in the case of the Philippines. This happens in the control and destructure of land across so-called Canada, where destruction of waterways are continuing to happen, and in the Philippines, the disruption of mining companies in indigenous lands back home. And so when we think about that, I guess the ways settlers and colonizers treat the land, that's very much rooted in colonial mentality that humans are separate from nature. But then we reground ourselves in this indigenous ways of knowing. We remember that humans, like we as humans, are absolutely necessary. We are an absolutely necessary part of nature and this ecology. We're one with nature, as cheesy as that might sound. We have a kinship with nature that we need to tend to. The same way we recognize, the importance of tending to our relationship with our friends, partners, etc. We also have this organic call to tend to our relationship with the land. And so that relationship, is the foundational basis of why we fight for the land that we are on. So to celebrate Earth Day, to celebrate Land Day, for me is to really embody that meaning, or what it means to fight for land sovereignty, why we need to fight for indigenous people's rights to their land and their right to care for the land, and their fight for their return to their own land. Yeah.
That was a really good analysis and like just unpacking of that. We have all sorts of holidays that's declared by the United Nations. And the ways of even International Women's Day has lost its root from that class struggle that it started with.
I think there is a really big need to maybe unpack what Earth Day means, because that's a day that is already established, but there's we have an hour to turn off all our lights. An hour of silence or ganon. So I think we can also kind of take advantage of that, the fact that it's already an established day.
This is in schools. Maybe it is an opportunity for us to shift that conversation or to bring it deeper. Diba? Do you have any any messages for our listeners, other Filipinos out there who are still thinking about, joining an organization, or not sure, or have heard about you but haven't really decided or made up their mind on whether they are, they wanted to join or not?
For sure. I think it goes back to actually what you had shared earlier, that everyone has a role in this. I think it can be scary, but I think it could also be confusing to not know where to start. Or not know exactly what your role is as a one person, as one human being. Pero there really is a role for everybody, and everyone just needs to start somewhere, and maybe kind of like grounding themselves and understanding what kind of skills can they offer the movement. I think when it comes to that, to like the feelings of discomfort, feelings of lack of safety, or concerns with safety, or ganon, or comfort, then the community is there for you. I think this is just another way of inviting folks to reach out to, and to kind of just start that conversation, because it's really the time is now to act, pero it's also not too late to start now. Diba? I think people have also felt that maybe this genocide has gone on for too long, that they might not be able to enter the conversation or enter the movement. Pero there is always space for everybody here, and it just takes one very brave message and reaching out to your community.
There is urgency in the situation, and at times it can get overwhelming when you're alone, but there's this space that can provide support and just figure things out with you, instead of you trying to figure out what you're gonna do. Like there's this whole collective of people that will be there and you can talk to about and find the ways that you can support this movement in the capacity that you have. That is Mauriene Tolentino, member of Filipinos United for Palestine. Maraming salamat for speaking with us today, Mauriene.
Thank you so much, Radio Mig, for having us.
Maraming salamat sa patuloy na pagsubaybay sa ating Pinoy Talakayan at Usapan o Pinoy Tayo. Nakikinig kayo dito lamang sa Radyo Migrante ng Vibe 105.5 FM.
At syempre, to stay updated sa happenings sa ating community, narito ang mga event at announcement. Sa May 4, Saturday, come and show solidarity with workers on International Workers' Day. Ito po ay gaganapin sa Nathan Phillips Square starting at 1 p.m. Sa May 3 to May 5 naman, Friday to Sunday, ang Kapwa Rising Anti-Asian Community Conference hosted by Kabangka ay gaganapin dito sa Toronto. Para mag-register, bastahin ang kanilang website na kabangka.org.
Interesado ba kayo na maging bahagi ng Radyo Migrante? Halina't sumali sa Radyo Migrante Collective. There are open positions for new researchers, scriptwriters, co-host, editors, and social media coordinators. And to learn more from our past and future episodes, just check us out sa Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at nasa Spotify din po kami. Isulat nyo lang ang Radyo Migrante Toronto sa search bar. At dito nagtatapos ang isa na namang makabuluhang episode ng Radyo Migrante. Ipagpapatuloy natin ito next week kung saan pag-uusapan natin ang kasaysayan at ang kasalukuyang peace process sa pagitan ng Government of the Republic Philippines at ng National Democratic Front of the Philippines.
Muli, sana po ay marami kayong natutunan sa isang oras na pinagsaluhan natin. Please be kind to yourself and enjoy the rest of your day. Padayon mga karadmig para sa progresibong politika at pagbabago.
Sa tulong ng mga kababayan natin na bumubuo ng Radyo Migrante, kay Mauriene Tolentino, kay Carlo Ramirez para sa kanyang kantang Migranteng Pilipino, at higit sa lahat sa inyo pong mga nakikinig sa Radyo Migrante tuwing linggo mula 1:00 hanggang 2:00 ng hapon. Maraming salamat po.
Hanggang sa susunod mga kababayan, muli,
Mabuhay po kayo at mabuhay ang Bayang Pilipinas!
Hindi magagawa